And then they doubled down, and in such a hallmark, classic Games Workshop way as well, by making everything worse. See, the only real benefit from this around here is that I guess it puts to paid any remaining cope, frankly, that this was somehow a translation error or a spelling mistake or something. Granted, again, GW hardly spell checks their codexes these days, but nah, of course not. It is Malice. Never assume incompetence when you're dealing with the progressives, after all. And this is a yet another perfectly beautiful example of that. Since the first 10,000 were created, there have always been female Custodes. Now, the charitable interpretation would be that the individual in question doesn't know the lore that the Games Workshop wrote for the Custodes, or the fact that the Emperor himself has referred to them as his sons, or the fact that not a single solitary instance of lore exists up until this point to point to any sort of female Custodes, or anything like that. But of course, the far more realistic and correct interpretation is simply, yet again, my dear friends, Malice. Say it after me. Always assume malice. Which is what this is. As again, we know for a fact it's not true. But at the very least, you could have hoped that maybe GW would have had the courage of their convictions, if nothing more, for them to stand up and go, yes, we did change the law. No, we're not going to make things worse by obviously contradicting ourselves. We retconned it because we have been ideologically captured. But then again, I suppose it isn't really fair to ask that GW have the courage of their convictions, seeing as they're not their convictions, are they? BlackRock, Vanguard. I suppose, you can only never really truly have too much proof, can you? Now, both BlackRock and Vanguard are very progressive investment companies that have been actively pushing the ideas of ESG and DEI into every company that have been involved with. In fact, they have established that your abidance with these programs, which are extremely progressive and woke in nature, and also should be outright illegal in most Western nations due to the requirements of racialized hiring programs, they demand that all of the companies they work with abide by these regulations. Games Workshop is no different, I guarantee it. Sure, they only own like 6 and 4%, but that is still millions and millions of pounds, if not more. GW is a rapidly growing business after all. And with a combined total of what, like 10-11%? They absolutely have a voice, make no mistake about it. And considering the sheer size of these companies, we are talking about trillions in asset management. Their word is as good as law, of course. And just to point out another thing as well, the Templin Institute. Wow, a law purist who doesn't care about law. Tourists just don't like to admit that 40k has an unbreakable canon that must be adhered to at all times. Now, I'm showing you the Sargarunian screenshot of this because, well, he's afraid of me, of course, the Templin Institute. The Templin Institute, in case you're unaware, is another law channel, heavy quotation marks there, as he has not only admitted to inventing lore out of whole cloth, as in making it up as he goes, but he also put out a lengthy video which did a good amount of damage to his channel and reputation, where he essentially argued that female space marines were entirely okay. Why? Because the law don't matter, and they can simply just wave their magic stick and make it disappear at any point. That was unironically his argument. I've even got a video of it on my channel where I debunk his argument. Because here's the thing, being a law purist is not simply somebody who goes to the official GW account and go, well, there have always been a Custodes, females apparently, oh, that's what we're going to go with now. No, being a law puritan means that you understand that Games Workshop owns 40k no more than Disney owns Star Wars, in a purely legalistic sense. 40k, Star Wars, Marvel, Superman, whatever you care to mention, belongs to the fans. the people who are interested in it and have brought it to where it is today. They are the true owners and the safekeepers of it. And anyone who is a fan of 40k will be able to again point you to countless examples as I just did, including Games Workshop's official codexes, of course, pointing out that no, there have not always been female Custodes. This is a very recent invention that you pulled directly out of your BlackRock and Vanguard funded arse and nothing more. And yet furthermore again, I've seen a lot of people ask like, okay, but what about the Sisters of Silence? And Ritualist has drawn a nice little cute artwork here. We're gonna be can now, nothing to say about it because this of course does sideline the Sisters of Silence. They were the female Custodes in pretty much exactly the same way that the Sisters of Battle were the female Space Marines. 40k is not an exclusionary setting. It has all of the representation you could ever possibly ask for, from bugs to power armor to everything in between, both male and female. In fact, it is a rare army indeed that is single-sex in 40k. But again, as we talked about in the last video, where we covered an article which makes this all clear, this has nothing to do with female Space Marines. This is why the demand was immediately made for female Space Marines after the canonization of female Custodes. This is not about representation. It's not about having more female models. It is about power and influence. It is about subverting and taking over what has, at this point, become a British institution. That is the only goal. You can say, oh, but I'd like Sisters of Silence. Yeah, but that doesn't advance any political agenda, does it? Pointing out that this already exists doesn't benefit the wokeist narrative one iota, and thus it is inevitably and obviously ignored. Again, always assume malice with these people, as this indicates so clearly. DW knows this isn't true. Of course they know. And even if all of the sources outright simply stating that the Custodes are male are not good enough, in the same way that they state that the Sisters of Battle are female, in the same way that they state that the Sisters of Silence are female, even if you were to ignore that, the simple fact that they do not exist is proof enough. At no point previously have you seen a mention of a female Custodes. At no point preceding this has it even been hinted at. In fact, it was the matter of jokes about the entirety of female Primarchs headed by Malkador. Oh, I'd wish he'd made them all sisters, that way there'd be less infighting. Which tells me that Malkador was an only child, but details, eh? The simple absolute absence of female Custodes is evidence enough. And hey, GW, thank you for not having the courage of your convictions though, because it makes my job a whole lot easier by again proving the malice of it all. This is not even a reason that the wokest can accept, because it doesn't actually surrender that much. It's like, oh hey, this is totally true. Everyone knows it isn't. Everyone knows you're lying. But I suppose there is also the idea that, see, everyone can believe the truth. Believing the truth is simple because it's the truth. We have the evidence. We can demonstrate without a question of doubt that this is actually the truth. But believing an obvious falsehood, actually swallowing and repeating the lie, now that's far more of the realms of the actual activist. The actual person who has fully admitted that, yeah, no, I don't really care about any of this. I don't care about the integrity of the lore of the setting. I'm in this for me. And I suppose making people deliberately, knowingly tell the lie, there's power in that. It is unquestionable power in that. So, since the first 10,000 were created, there's always been female Custodes. We simply elected to never ever record any of them, or make any of them, or mention any of them, or write them into our codex, or anything like that. Malice. That is the message and the lesson of this video. Malice, malice, malice. Always assume malice. And as soon as you are able to carry out that thought process into 40k and all of your interactions with Warhammer as well, you will be far, far, far better off. Especially considering the investments being made. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.